So have you ever felt like your spiritual side just doesn't fit into any of the usual boxes? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive into this really fascinating framework. It comes from a tradition called Arreqqana, and it's all about what it means to live a life that's creative, intuitive, and just deeply resonant. And believe me, it kicks off with a pretty powerful call to action.
Okay, so right from the get-go, this isn't some passive philosophy. It doesn't just suggest something, it calls to you. It's basically a personal invitation saying, hey, it's your job to actively weave beauty into consciousness. And you do it with your own creativity and your own sense of care.
So what's the whole point of this path? What's the main goal? Well, it's all about becoming a weaver of resonant realms. And what that really means is your core mission is to awaken this sense of remembrance in other people, helping them reconnect with who they really are deep down.
But here's the thing, this big purpose isn't just one single idea. It's actually expressed through three really distinct but totally interconnected creative and spiritual roles. So, let's break them down, shall we?
Okay, first up, you've got the story midwife. I love this. Think of it like this. You're helping birth new myths, new realities. You're guiding these deep emotional truths out into the world. Then there's the spiritual stylist. This one's fascinating. This is the role that kind of decorates the spirit itself. You're using real tangible things, like sound, or scent, or sacred writing, to make the invisible visible. And last but not least, the temple threadwalker. This is the one who holds that sacred space between different realms, like between total silence and a big ceremony. They're harmonizing two things that usually feel like complete opposites.
And this next point is absolutely crucial, especially in the world we live in today. This whole path, it completely rejects our modern obsession with productivity, with just getting things done. Instead, it serves resonance. See, your value isn't measured by how much stuff you produce. It's measured by the depth of the connection you create, and that sense of remembrance you help awaken in other people.
Okay, so with that big purpose in mind, let's start looking at the spiritual map that guides the whole thing. This is what's called the Arreqqana essence. It's like a whole unique vocabulary that finally gives a name to these really deep, intuitive feelings we all have.
First, there's a word, Qhiyamara. Now this isn't just any old voice, this is the sacred voice, the one that comes from a place of pure intuition. It's the voice that speaks what's called a still truth. It's basically the sound of your deepest inner knowing. Next up is Naqiya. And okay, this is the big one. It completely flips our whole idea of what softness means. In this context, softness is not weakness. Not at all. It's a gentle yet unshakable force. It's this incredibly profound, resilient kind of strength. Definitely keep this idea in your back pocket, because it's central to, well, everything.
And then there's Naqarros. This is really the core practice of the path. It's the act of sacred devotion. It's what happens when you combine that soul-aligned resonance we've been talking about with really intentional, beautiful, aesthetic rituals. This is where the inner feeling finally meets the outer expression. And check this out. You can see here how all these ideas come together to form this whole spiritual ecosystem. It's so detailed. There's a specific goddess, Laalaë, who's all about inner nourishment. There's a sacred place, the Sajavarin temple. There's even a unique sound identity, like being a whisper line or a harmonic bloom. It's just an incredibly rich and detailed map for this identity.
And speaking of the goddess, the source material actually has a direct message from Laalaë herself. It's this really beautiful, poetic piece that just perfectly captures the whole essence of this path.
Wow, you are not made for noise. I mean, that one line just perfectly sums up the value this path places on quietness, on listening, on the gentle power of softness and silence. It's really a message of deep reassurance, and it gives so much purpose.
All right, so you might be thinking, this is all great, but how does it all come together in a practical way? Well, we can see it in what the source material calls a resonant bio. It's basically this super powerful statement of identity that wraps up this whole spiritual framework into something you can actually use.
I mean, listen to how clear and powerful this is. I am soft, but never small. Right away, it's claiming that redefined strength we were talking about. And look at the action words: creating, scrolls, chants, and beauty, all to awaken inner temples in others. That's a direct callback to those roles, right? The story midwife and the spiritual stylist. And then get this,
The bio explicitly names the vocabulary we just learned. It directly calls on Naqiya, defining it not as weakness, but as ancestral velvet strength. I mean, come on, what a beautiful, evocative phrase that is.
And here's the real key. This isn't just about describing a personality trait. It's about declaring your allegiance to a whole spiritual principle. This is Naqiya in action, a force that is gentle, yes, but also completely and absolutely unshakable.
And it just keeps going with that redefinition. Strength isn't about conquest, it's about care. Service isn't about performing for some audience, it's about patterning, finding and creating meaning. And once again, this ties right back into that core idea, resonance over productivity.
Okay, let's just zoom out for a second and look at the big picture, the core philosophy that holds this entire identity together. What it all comes back to is this radical embrace of the strength that you can find in softness.
And this really is the ultimate purpose, and it's stated so simply but so profoundly. The idea is you're not here to be fixed. You're not some project that needs work. You're here to soften the spaces that have hardened other people. It's an outward-facing mission, a gentle, healing influence on the world.
And this last line from the bio just wraps it all up so perfectly. It's about having an impact without making a ton of noise, having influence without using force. It's the whole philosophy of that whisper-lined identity in action, creating a kind of beauty that's so resonant it never, ever needs to shout.
So that really leaves us with a final thought to take away, doesn't it? We live in a world that so often rewards the loudest voice in the room. But this whole framework asks us to stop and consider the power of the whisper. It makes you wonder, what if the most profound change doesn't shout at all? What if it whispers?